Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So a bit of a quick one here, but something I wanted to talk about since it's a follow-up to the video from the other day, where we talked about that Fanatics had kind of started to put a little bit of a squeeze on Panini. And one of the methods in which they decided to do that was to make offers to several folks that were operating at Panini, and they were able to get them to come over. So a bit of a talent raid, which was pretty successful. But obviously Panini, being in a position that they have their own stuff they need to do, wasn't going to just take this lying down. And in this article here from Sports Collectors Daily, as it started to kind of circulate around, is that Panini did respond to this rating of talent and wanted to have a block put on that. Now, one of the questions that we talked about, in particular on the live stream, was, discussing the idea of, well, wouldn't there be some kind of a non-compete clause? And one of the kind of valid points that was made and something that circulated around is that even if you tried to do a non-compete clause, given that this is a very niche industry, like there are only so many companies in the industry. If you work at one of the card manufacturers, you get even more niche still. So it's one of those things where if you have a certain set of skills, a certain experience that you've done, and you're at one manufacturer, it's really hard to say that, oh yeah, we have a non-compete clause and you can't go anywhere, when in reality, there's only a handful of companies in the industry that do the same kind of work. So I think it would be kind of a hard thing to enforce, but it's something that I would leave mostly to the lawyers. But regardless, Panini decided to respond to it. And in the article, it outlines a little bit of it. And specifically, it's talking about a judge ruling Monday that unless those former workers try to recruit other Panini colleagues, Fanatics can continue hiring them if it wants to. So the reality was that, they have a right to be able to go and take another position, even if it's a very similar position at a competitor at a convenient timing relative to it. And what's interesting, and the article here outlines it a little bit more, is that the extent of the amount of different individuals that have jumped ship is actually pretty substantial. So I'll read quickly a couple of excerpts here. So on Monday, a judge ordered the 7 employees named in the lawsuit, so not all of them were named, but I'll outline the bigger number in a second, to turn over any Panini property or documents that they might have violate trade secrets in order them not to try and entice their former co-workers to Fanatics. So obviously they don't want people recruiting, and they don't want them using specific trade secrets that are directly related to Panini, because that would be a lot more unfair than just stealing the talent. Stealing the talent, stealing the experience is one thing, but on the other hand, they do want to put some kind of a limit. To continue, however, the judge ruled that there's nothing preventing Fanatics from hiring additional employees as long as those defendants comply with the court order. So as long as they follow the rules laid out by the judge, they can continue to hire people and make offers to them. Now, as far as trying to determine if there was anything related to that, where any information that shouldn't have gone across or any recruiting happened, they did order the individuals named in the lawsuit, and all the names are included there, not to delete or alter any electronic or records, including emails, that relate to their employment with either Panini or Fanatics, any business activities they've been engaged with for Fanatics so far, and any contact they've had with clients, athletes, or agents since April the 4th. A hearing on the case is scheduled for May the 1st. Now, a little bit further down in the article is kind of the extent of the poaching that has gone on here. Over 30 Panini employees have left Panini over the last 2 or 3 weeks, with many announcing they had joined Fanatics in similar roles. They included those in product development, licensing, athlete relations, production, and brand management. So needless to say, there's quite a bit of information and knowledge that has been transferred over from Panini over to Fanatics, and it's something obviously that Panini would want to stem the tide of, but there's very little they can do as long as they're not violating any of the trade secrets and giving Fanatics an unfair advantage that way. But at the same time, you're taking these people who already have this experience and you're able to leverage that. Now, specifically, some of the information that's included here under trade secrets, they cited information regarding the number of cards printed. That's something a lot of folks want to hear about. Ratios of base cards to non-base cards produced, materials and components of the cards, design, production, and distribution schedules, Panini's distribution network, pricing models, and information on other Panini employees, including relative strengths and weaknesses, compensation, and preferences. So obviously there's some information they're not supposed to take over with them, and they're not supposed to carry through. So that's kind of what Panini was trying to protect from, at the very least. But in reality, what they wanted to do in addition was try to stem the tide a little bit. So I can't blame Panini for doing this, but it's just it feels like it's a bit of a futile effort at this point. Over 30 employees in the last several weeks, so that's a pretty big drain as far as the workforce. Panini, I don't know how many people they have, but you can imagine that a lot of these manufacturers are not operating with such a gigantic. Even if it's a couple of hundred employees, that's still a pretty substantial proportion of the workforce, especially in some of those key positions. Now, in the original court filing, Panini had accused the former employees of breaching contracts they had with Panini by directly or indirectly recruiting, soliciting, or hiring other Panini employees, which is one of the crux of this issue, and something that specifically wanted to stop. So I'll leave it at that for now. I wanted to include this update. Obviously, this is going to continue moving forward, and there's going to be the hearing on May the 1st, where we're going to see what goes forward. Another resource I would direct you to is Paul Lesko on Twitter. I'll include a link to his Twitter handle so that you can go check it out. And generally speaking, whenever there's one of these cases, he usually does a pretty good job outlining a lot of the key pieces of information and breaking a lot of the pieces of it down. I'll also include a link to this article in the description for you so you can scan through it yourself and then kind of see. It's one of those things that falls under the industry movements, which are very interesting to me personally. I know it's not everybody's cup of of tea, but it's something that I like to keep an eye out on, and it's going to have an impact, both for Fanatics and slash Tops, and what Panini's going to do going forward as they try to deal with a company that's being changed as we speak, as this recruiting process is underway. So additionally, there will definitely be some more dominoes to fall. It's one of those things where Fanatics has made it very clear that they're going to aggressively pursue trying to get themselves in a position to be able to take over some of those licenses, whether Panini wants them to or not. And the question is going to be what exactly Panini is going to be able to do to respond, even though obviously this lawsuit is to try to stem the tide a little bit, but obviously there's limits to how far they can actually do that. So open any thoughts you might have as far as that's concerned. More videos coming up on the channel. Live streams generally are on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Into this week, we're going to have the expo, so I think the schedule is going to change up a little bit, and I'll keep an eye on and make reference to when that's going to happen. Otherwise, that's it for now. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you in the next one.